Hello, everybody, and welcome.
Sorry, I missed that.
Jonathan will be letting you in. Alexis, okay, you can come in later, or Siri, whichever one you were. Jonathan's letting in our participants now, and I know most everybody ends up watching these things on recording. We are going to be on Facebook Live, and we are now live, so I'm going to hit my share button right here. All right. Perfect. I am shared. Anthony, welcome. Let's get to the good stuff first. How the hell do you say your last name?
Lamacchia.
I already had 3 people ask me like this morning. They're like, so how do you say that? Is it Lamacchia? Is it Lamacchia? Is it?
I'll tell you something, and people can learn from this too. Growing up, nobody could say our family's name right. And I saw an older aunt of mine, a great aunt, about 6 months ago that I hadn't seen in a long time. And she says, best thing you ever did for this family was all your advertising, because now everybody says our name the right way. Because my whole life, everybody said it the wrong way. But since you in the business, you know, they say it the right way. So if you lived in Boston or in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New England, you'd know how to say it the right way by now.
Very nice. Very nice. And that's where you are, yes? So are you actually in Boston proper? Or are you outside of Boston? Like, where are you at?
I'm 15, 20 minutes outside of Boston.
Okay.
I was in Boston fishing yesterday, as you know.
Pretty good fishing story. Yes. And everybody, quick reminder, some housekeeping. If Anthony drops, I'll pick up the slack. If I drop, hey, Anthony, guess what you're doing? You're picking up the slack. And one of the 2 of us will be right back. We do have a Q&A bar. If you guys want to ask questions in the Q&A, please do so. There's also a chat bar. If you want to chat, go ahead, but it's tougher for me to see questions there. So if you'd ask questions for Anthony in Q&A, that would be helpful, and just wrap with your buds over in chat. All right, so let's talk just a little bit. So we've known each other for, probably going on close to 4 or 5 years now. We met via Inman events. But just tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll start getting into some fun stuff that I really love that you're doing.
Well, thank you. It's been great to get to know you as well. I've learned a lot from you. And I am the broker owner of Lamacchia Realty. We're an independent brokerage with just under 300 realtors in our company. We have 48 people on staff. I believe 45 are with the brokerage, and then a few people with property management, development. We also have a small training business. As you know, we sell our trainings across the country online. I think you know that. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what I do. I run the companies. I would say I spend most of my time on, or maybe half my time on recruiting related activities. And then the other half dealing with our management team, executive team, and trying to steer the ship in the right direction.
Awesome. Hey, let me ask a question real quick. Brandon said he's having a tough time hearing you. I hear you just fine though. So I'm curious, just 5 people who were on, say, yes, I can hear him good, or no, I can't hear him good. You only need 1 word on the chat, yes or no.
You know what?
There's a good.
I'm going to switch to the webcam speaker. I just realized it was off because I was on Microsoft.
Okay. That is actually, they could hear you, but it's good now. Everyone says they could hear you, but it just got better.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. If you use Microsoft Teams and you use Zoom, you have to remember to switch the setting when you go from one to the other. I learned that last week.
There you go.
Virtual world.
Sound is better. Awesome. So we could hear you. They just, a couple of them thought you sounded like you're in a tunnel, it sounded like, and that was why. All right. So you have not always been indie though, have you? Like in my head, you were not indie 4 years ago, but maybe I'm hallucinating.
Oh, no. We've been indie
okay.
11 years.
Okay.
But originally, way back when I was at Remax, so that's what you're thinking of. I started at Remax in 04. I think Remax is a great company. I was there till 07, and then went to Realty Executives for like a year and a half, went on our own in February of 09.
Okay, good. Everybody who was talking about his fishing story last night, he was out there fishing on the ocean and caught a storm on the way back and started to fear for his life on like 8-foot swells.
Yeah, it wasn't
and we were
good.
supposed to talk yesterday, and I kept not hearing from him, and he finally texted me like crazy late his time, which is crazy late my time, so it was really crazy late your time.
I didn't sleep well. When I got home, I was shooken up over it, but we're okay, and in the office today.
Solid. All right. So what I want to share with everybody here is we've had an opportunity over the years to always meet, especially at like lobby cons, just hang out and talk about what you're doing and what we're doing. And always sharing. And it seems like you are always way outside the box. Like Melody loves you, right? My wife, and I think maybe more than me. And she always says, she's always like, why do we think so small? And like, we kind of think we're big thinkers, and a lot of times, and then we get around a couple people, you being one of them. And she's like, why do we think so small? Like, he's just such a big thinker with these ideas. So let's talk a little bit about your mindset with that kind of stuff.
Well, I think that one of the things, and I certainly have my faults, but one of the things that helps me think big is I'm a somewhat of a fearless person. I see a problem and I don't get nervous. I was nervous last night in the ocean, but excluding that, in a normal business situation, I look at situations and I say, okay, how can we do that? How can we do better? And that's why we're always thinking and looking at things differently, because I look at a situation and say, okay, how could we achieve what we want to achieve in a better way that would be cost effective? And like before we came on, you mentioned our CRM, and you've been impressed with our CRM. You've heard about it. Real Estate Magazine, Risk Media just did a big article on it last month in July. And that was really me banging my head against the wall, like everyone in the business, from like 07 to 2013, saying, why does no one have a CRM that takes you from lead to close and beyond and does everything in between? And that was really the impetus for us looking into Salesforce and making a deal with them, and then hiring our own engineer. Now we have a couple people on a team, and they're constantly refining it and making it better. We've got it on the mobile app. And when I look back, okay, I've spent over $1 million on that, building that. And some people might hear that and go, well, okay, he can do that, I can't. Well, don't be so sure of that. Okay, if you're someone that owns an organization that's, I don't know, 5 or 8 people or more, you are going to have more staff if you don't have a system that can do things for you. The amount of automation that we've built in our system, from accounting to take recruiting, for example, to marketing, is enormous. If our system went out the window tomorrow, we'd probably need 4 more employees right away. Well, there's what, $2 to $3 or $100,000 a year. Within 4 or 5 years, there's that million, right? And then it compounds. So sometimes I think that people look at me like, oh, he thinks outside the box, and I appreciate those thoughts, I guess, but I just look at it and I'm not scared to say, what if we built our own CRM? I mean, at the time, 2013, I'm 7 years into the business, 2014, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'm 32 years old. I plan to be in this business well into my, the rest of my life. I love the real estate business. I really don't know much other than real estate and construction. That's what I grew up doing. So I said, we need to have a system. We need to have something that we can run our business on. And I'm happy as could be that we did it. And we're making it better and better. And guess what? Our realtors love it. Our realtors share the cost with us. They pay a licensing fee. So, that's one example. And then you take COVID, for example. COVID came, it was like everybody, my competitors, they basically handed me the stage. They were like, go ahead, because I'm not going to say anything. So I went online, I did videos on my Crush It in Real Estate page. We have a big following there among realtors, 26,000 followers. And I went on there at least once a week. In the beginning, I was going on like every 4 days. Our state was coming out with changes on restrictions for showings and things. So I was on there constantly. There were times that I was on there and I had 3,000 people watching live.
Wow.
And why is that?
What's the name of it again, if these guys want to check that out?
Sure. It's Crush It in Real Estate.
Okay.
Crush It in Real Estate. And 3,000 people live. Not watching after, literally live. And, what the hell am I? I'm nothing special. But why were they tuned in? Because at the beginning of the crisis, people were starving for information. And since they were starving for information, guess who was providing it? Me.
Right.
And I wasn't always right. There were times, and I had realtors say this to me, that I went on there, I'm like, hey guys, last week I suggested this. Well, guess what? The state made a change. I got ahead of myself. I shouldn't have said that. Now I suggest that. Do you know how many people we've recruited since then that have said, during COVID, you taught me 10 times more than my own broker. I wasn't getting any information from my broker. Then you look at buyers and sellers. 2-3 weeks in, I'm listening to our brokers. As much as I'm a talker, I listen. Our brokers are telling us the buyers are running scared. The buyers think that all the values are going to go down. Home prices are going to fall apart. I said, we come out with a blog. 4 reasons this is not 2008. We released the blog. Then I do a video on it. We got 77,000 views on that video. This is not 2008. I'm not a genius.
Wow.
I simply talked about what people wanted to hear about. So, you know, you ask about thinking outside the box. I just don't get fearful. You know, some of my competitors, some of the larger franchises, a few of them have said to me, we wish we could do stuff like that, but our company is basically run by HR. We're not run by HR here. We do the right thing. We're professional. But when we know our consumers or our realtors want information, we're providing the information. And if we have to take a wee bit of risk that we might be wrong, great. Well, if I get sued once in the next 50 years because of something I said wrong on a video, it'll be worth it.
You know, and it's not the risk, to be honest, right? I think 99% of the time, it's not the risk of a lawsuit that holds people back. It's the risk of their ego.
And being wrong. They think like being wrong is like the end of the world. Who cares? Who cares? You're wrong. Okay, I was wrong. Great. You know, lock me up. I mean, to me, it's not a big deal. And I think, again, I think some of that comes down to fear. You know, some of that people get too caught up in their own minds figuring things out.
Yeah, completely. Okay, so let's go back before COVID. Let's go back to like last fall, beginning of this year, starting to look like it's going to be the greatest year in real estate of all time. And what are some of the other things that you guys were doing?
Well, it really was looking that way. I mean, the market was up substantially. Business was up substantially. The economy was just incredible. And then COVID hit and it changed things. And we were really, or we're back, we're almost back to clicking on all cylinders. This month, we're going to hit budget for the first time in 5 months. We're up over last year, but that's because we grew so much. We've added about 100 realtors in the last year. But one of the things that we were doing that I know you've been interested in is we created our own Ibuyer program where if a seller would like to not list their home, but they want to sell, we'll buy the home from them for cash, close when they want to, and then we take the home and sell it. And I'll tell you, we didn't win on every property we bought. That's part of the learning curve. You know,
but it's an interesting thing being a broker doing it and not a massive third-party company. Being a broker that does it, there's some other intrinsic values there. So let's talk about that. You didn't win on all of them. What have you learned and what's going on with that?
I've learned a couple of expensive lessons. I have one coming in 2 weeks when we close on it. You know, it was a higher end property and COVID impacted luxury a little bit. It added about 90 days to the project because we couldn't get things done. But who cares? You know, I'm not going to sit around and cry that I'm going to lose, you know, a good amount of money on this property. We're refining and dialing it in and figuring out how to get it right. And we had a lot of properties that we made some money on. And, you know, the consumer has a need no matter what. Okay. You know, what realtors tend to do, I think as Zillow, when realtors don't like something, they just trounce on it. They talk bad about it. Well, talking bad about it doesn't make it go away. It doesn't. It doesn't. Okay.
Yep.
So I look at the situation and I can't take all the credit. A guy that's been with me for almost 13 years had said about 3 years ago, Anthony, if we could ever figure out a way to basically trade houses like cars are traded, we'll beat everybody. And that stayed in my head, bouncing around up there. And then when we get closer to launching this program, let me think, 2 years ago, we said, if we're going to do this, we can't do it with any partners. This isn't this is the buyer, because every investor in the world is going to tell you that they're easy to work with and all that. They're not. They're going to tell you that they're reasonable. They're not reasonable. They're going to come in and they're going to change prices, and just like some of those companies are doing. They give it a price, they go back to a home inspection, they change it again, they bail out. We weren't interested. So we found a financial partner that provided us debt. And yes, we paid high interest on it, but we said, you know what, before we go getting a partner or an equity partner, which we may still do, we're not going to go getting locked up with anybody. Let's just pay the damn high interest and let's learn this model. And that's what we did. And here we are 18 months in, we're still at a bit of a loss, really because of these last two that are hurting us. But that doesn't scare me. You know, we can afford the loss. We're going to handle it. And we're going to go into next year. And I'm willing to bet you that if you have me back on in a year, I'm going to tell you that we're doing well with it. And also keep in mind the amount of listings that we've brought in from it.
That's the other thing. That's the part from a broker ancillary, right? It's not about the Yeah, it might be a little bit of profit or loss in the move, but what's the commission business
I'll
that's
tell you
coming
this.
down?
If I take our loss and I put in the amount of listings that we got, we ain't losing. I'll bet you. I'd have to do the numbers and pull it apart and look at it. But I'll tell you this, we're already in the black with, if you look at it that way. It's two separate companies, but we're pulling in listings off it. I'll tell you a stat. I don't care if my competitors hear it. We are signing up somewhere between 35 and 40% of the listings that we don't buy. Our realtors are signing up,
So they're interested in it. They don't like your price. Your agents still get to list the property 30 to 40% of the time.
Yes, and I wouldn't always say it's the price. When I tell you that we truly teach our realtors to tell the seller to do what's best for them, I can't emphasize that enough. And I'll tell you, in the beginning, Dan, it was an awkward. The agents were like, "Well, don't you want to buy it? Well, don't you want to get a good deal?" And finally, we were like, "Take that out of your head. What is best for the seller? If it's better for the seller that we buy it because they're hoarders and they have stuff up to the ceiling and the house smells like hell and they need to sell it, get their money before the mom can go into a nursing home, then tell them they're better off taking our offer. If they're not better off and they're going to be giving up 5 or 10% or 15%, tell them not to take our offer." And when we said that, that was about 13 months ago. All of a sudden, the amount of listings the agents were taking went up. And we started doing better. And I think in the beginning, it was a mindset thing. The agents were a little like, "Well, don't I have to get the offer accepted because it's the broker?" And when we finally said, "Guys, forget it. Tell your sellers the truth. These are the options. If you don't want this, I'll list your home. And by the way, I don't recommend this." And I'll tell you, the people like the candor. Do we run into situations occasionally that a seller gets offended by the price and they won't list with our agent? Yes, it happens. But not if it's handled correctly. Most of the time that won't happen.
Numbers game. That's awesome. So you found a way, which is, for those of us who are very familiar with purchasing leads, you found a way to generate quality seller leads, which is very difficult to do in this world still, isn't it? And so,
no doubt. And we did it very well when the market was bad. I mean, when the market was bad, I'd run guaranteed sale television commercials and we just killed it. But when the market's hot, it's very hard to produce seller leads because sellers don't feel like they need anybody special. They call Joe Blow, the realtor, for a low commission up the street and they list, right?
Right.
But we found this, and remember, we're getting branding off of this too. We're constantly running television ads and I'm talking up the program. So it's been interesting.
And the whole city is seeing your name said correctly on those ads.
It helps.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I have to be careful. I'll tell you, I have to be careful. And just to give you guys an idea, and you're in Orange County, and I did overdo a television ad about 9 years ago. And I'll tell you, it was a short sale ad where we said, if you're upside down in your home, can't afford your mortgage, give us a call. Well, Dan, we got so many calls, we had to shut the ads off. But I'll tell you, I overdid it and it hurt our brand. And it made it so that our competitors peppered us with it for 2 or 3 years. So now I'm not doing that. Now we're not letting it go, this ad for the Offer Now program, go for more than 50% of the time. And realtors that are listening, broker owners that are listening, take it from me, the guys who's learned things the hard way. When I was a kid, my dad used to say, "You only learn things the hard way." I think it's kind of still true. But that is something to be aware of.
Somebody asked a question. Do you have and I don't know if your guys' stuff is, which by all means, if there's something you don't want to share, just let us know. It says, what kind of fair market value are you purchasing your buyer programs at?
Well, we're buying homes anywhere between first of all, when we buy a home, there's no commission. We tell them to leave the home as is. In Massachusetts, you have to get smoke detectors in order to sell. You got to do different things. We handle it all. So we provide a discount, we buy at a discount, but we're making their life easier. But I would say that the reduction in purchase price is probably 5%. Well, I shouldn't say that because when you take out the commission, probably market value to 20% less than market value, depending on the situation. Because there's some properties that we can buy at market value, do some things to them. Like we did an addition up the street. We can do things to make and still do well, but pay market value. So it's market value to probably 20% less.
Were you surprised? Like you said, a lot of them don't do it with you, and then they list. But were you surprised by how many people were really hating the real estate experience? Like, do you run into people that are like, yeah, we're going this route because, you hear that a lot. The people just want
Well,
the ease of transaction.
our inside sales manager said the number one the reason that these people say they want this program is they don't want showings. And that was pre-COVID.
Right.
That was before COVID. People hate showings. It stresses them out. That's the number one reason. Not really talking bad about realtors or anything like that. And it's funny because many of them, and some people will tell them on the phone, like, I don't know if our program is going to work for you, but let our realtor come out and see the property. And, put it this way, we are in the brokerage business. We are in this to sell properties. And if we buy a small percentage through the program, great, we're happy.
Got it. Somebody wants to know where your county accent is from specifically, who spent some time in Concord.
I'm right outside of Boston.
All right.
I think I talk the right way.
There you go. Okay, so check this out. COVID hits, throws you for a loop, throws the world for a loop. Some people put their head in the sand, didn't do much. I know that you said right before we got on the call that there's a saying, and you literally said these words without saying words. There's opportunity in crisis.
There is. I mean,
there's opportunity in crisis. And so you talked a little bit about recruiting and getting the messaging out. And now that things are getting better, there's no doubt that we're starting to turn. Like, my kids theoretically will be able to go back into a classroom in 11 days if everything holds and not have to continue the virtual learning. So things are getting better. So how are you guys going to try to slingshot out of this even faster than you are now, or what you went into it at? Do you have any things that are in your head that you're thinking about that you think will be huge?
Yeah, I think that when we get after the first of the year, and hopefully we have a drug, a therapeutic that will solve COVID, kind of like a Tamiflu or a vaccine or something, I do think there'll be a lot of listings coming on. And I hope and I think that all the work that we did during COVID, supporting our realtors, we were the first brokerage to buy 1,000 masks, first brokers that I know of, masks, booties. We came out with, 6 steps to showing a home safely and all these different things very early in the game. And that gave our realtors and our sellers a lot of comfort. And I think that that'll pay dividends. I think it already is paying dividends, but it will more later. There is massive opportunity in every crisis. And some people hear that and say, oh, what a capitalist he is. Well, yeah, okay, I'm a capitalist. I'm a self-admitted one. I don't care. I'm not ashamed of it. But think how many people we helped. Think how many people we helped, with sellers that needed to sell, buyers that need to buy, and realtors who felt like they were getting a lack of information during COVID. I mean, if anything, I was over communicating. I was even getting tired of seeing me online, honestly. But I felt it was important. I mean, you got to help people. And, that is how I run this company. Okay. What problem does the consumer or a realtor have, or both, that we can solve, right? There was a lot of talk across our market over the last few months. Oh, there's less interest in condos. There's less condos selling. And I was looking at it saying, well, I want to see the numbers. Is that legit? So what did we do? Our marketing team comes out with it. We did a ton of work. We pulled the data. We looked at properties listed. We looked at properties, how many are total are listed, how many are new listings, how many pending, condos versus single families. And we came out with an extraordinary blog with all the information on it. And guess what? Everybody's clicking on the damn thing, right? If I share the screen with you and just show you for a second.
It will in a second. I think he can, Jonathan.
You know what? I'll put it in the chat. Let me put it in the chat.
Oh,
don't worry about it.
He'll put it in the chat, you guys. So check it out
everybody can see it. But why not fill the void? I mean, that's what I do all day long. I look around. What can I do for realtors? What can I do for buyers and sellers? What can I do that'll make our realtors look like heroes to buyers and sellers? That's how we run the company. Myself and our leaders, not just me. It's not all about me. I have a phenomenal 12-person management team.
Let me ask you, we're kind of a suburb of Los Angeles, right? People in Orange County don't like to think they're a suburb of Los Angeles, but we are.
Sure. Yeah,
right. And we are seeing a mass exodus of people leaving Santa Monica condos, Brentwood high rises, and coming south to Orange County and getting full-fledged houses and yards has been created in the last 4, 5, 6 months of a lot of companies are going to switch to permanently working from home. And so that's offering them commute flexibility now. They don't have to go once every 10 days. They'll make the drive. They just couldn't do it every day, right? Are you guys, it sounds like you're a little bit outside of Boston. So you're not urban. You're kind of suburbs is what I'm hearing. Maybe I'm wrong though. Are you seeing that happen?
I would say we're technically suburb of Boston, but I mean, I can drive a mile that way and I'm in the outskirt of Boston, or 2 miles that way. You know, so we're right on the
suburb.
cusp. Yeah, we're
Gotcha.
right on the cusp. I'd say we're the beginning. Where I am at headquarters here, we're on the beginning of it. But if you go westerly to Worcester, which is the second largest city in New England, that's in the central part of Massachusetts, and that's all suburbs. I mean, the vast majority of our company's business is suburbs, to answer your question. When you ask me, where am I sitting?
Gotcha.
Well,
okay. Are you seeing the high rises, the condos, the apartments? So you seeing the
Boston has
exodus
slowed down.
urban? Okay.
Yeah, Boston has slowed down. There's no doubt. You know, we don't do a ton of sales in Boston, maybe half dozen a month, or maybe a dozen. But I was out with a broker 2 weeks ago for dinner who does a ton, and he was just saying that it is just much slower, and it's because of COVID. I mean, people are like, I think I'll move out to this. And also remember, this is people that also just decided to move out sooner. You know, they just said, well, we were going to leave in 2 years and go into the suburbs. We'll just do it now. And we're seeing that north of Boston, south of Boston, and out here.
Okay. 2 questions have shown up. 1, I would love to hear more about recruiting. And 2 is one about listings. So let's talk about the recruiting one first. This probably sounds more like a team owner or an indie broker, more than likely. Anything, what are you doing to recruit that leads to success? Most people would hear 100 people joining in the last year and they'd be pretty like odd, right? Those are some fat numbers. 2 a week, every week.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Anything other than just like, you know, the normal
We actually have
100, take them to lunch?
I just looked, we have 101 new agents year to date that have joined, and then we probably have 25 that have left, but we're constantly bringing in new agents. And honestly, it comes down to education. Just what I mentioned before, that Crush It in Real Estate page, I just put the link there. That has almost 25,000 likes, 26,000 followers, and that's me putting out information. I know you've seen the page, I've seen your comments, where I go on there and I just educate. I tell my thoughts on the market. I talk about things that realtors should be doing. I did a segment on Friday just about like why you need to return every phone call. I mean, it's so simple, but I broke it down in real estate terms. Then I did one yesterday morning where I broke it down even further. And, you know, people enjoy the videos, and that's been a great way to pull people in. It's been a great way to give people an understanding of what we offer. And then we as a company, I shouldn't say what we offer. It gives people a taste of our company. Then we as a company have built a ton of things that are attractive to realtors, different services, different products, you know, lead products, technology that are attracting realtors from brand new to very experienced. I mean, we're regularly bringing in people that are 15, 20 million plus, 25 million plus brokers all the time.
That's interesting though. So, you know, our number one recruiting method is also foundational, is just education. We just train. And just like you, like I speak across the country, train, you speak across the country and train, you have your own actual training platform that's available now, but being it's something that we just kind of naturally do and then offer it to our agents. That's like the foundational piece, right? Making them.
But so few do it.
Yeah.
You know, you think of it this way, Dan. Okay, I always say this with the brokerage business. There's 2 roads. One road is give away as much commission as possible and offer as little as possible. That's not our road. Our road is the value road. We provide so many things for the realtors. Lead products for those who need it. About 20% of the realtors in our company regularly receive some sort of leads. Support, administrative assistance support, transactional support, marketing support. Honestly, just like shoulder to cry on support. We actually give a damn about our people. Like we genuinely do. We have people on staff that their job is to help the realtors and be in touch with them and make sure they're feeling good. And if they're not, try to figure out how to solve it. And training. all these different things that we offer, they're not cheap. So are we wildly expensive? And, do we take all the commission? No, we're competitive, or we would never get those 20, 25 million, $30 million producers. But are we maybe a wee bit more expensive? And that's how we fund all that we provide? Yeah. And we're fine with that. Like, we're not the Walmart of real estate. We're not looking to be. We're looking to be more like the Amazon. Amazon's not always the best price, but they're the most convenient. They have the most to offer, and people have gotten addicted to it.
Yeah, very good analogy. All right, and then an agent, this is probably more on an agent side than I think an indie broker necessarily, has said, what actions should I be taking? So I'm going to flip that and say, what are you telling your agents right now they should be doing to get new listings?
Well, here's the truth. You're going to have to accept the fact that not as many people are listing right now. It's just the way it is. It's a national problem. But it's just like anything else. The more people you are in contact with, the more business that you can attract. Okay? And if I were you, if you go on I'm going to share something right now. Let's do this. Crush It in Real Estate. So crushitinre.com. If you go onto this website and you click, I'm going to put the link to our COVID-19 section. We have blogs about how to safely show a home and how to do 6 things realtors should do to prepare for the changed market. 10 steps to safely showing a home. You need to be projecting safety to your clients. And guys, this might last 2 years. Obviously, it's not going to last at this level for 2 years.
But it's not going to go away completely either. I'm with you.
The fear of a virus is part of what's going to go on now. And here's the deal. You have to project safety. You have to give sellers comfort that you're going to keep their home safe and clean. You go on this website and you scroll down, you'll see the 10 steps that I have here to safely show a home. Well, you ought to be talking about that on your listing appointment now, because people need to understand and believe and feel comfortable with hiring you. And that's part of it.
And the link is in the chat, everybody. He just put it in there.
Yeah, I just put it in both links.
Now let's talk about talking to people. How do you guys out there, how do you talk to them? How are you encouraging your agents to talk to people? Out here, door knocking's a no-no right now. I don't know about out where you're at, but door knocking's a no-no because of health issues.
Obviously you can advertise, you can do things on Facebook. Facebook video is money. Okay. If I'm a realtor, I don't know who asked that question. What should I be doing right now? Edward Vega. If I'm him, I'm doing videos talking about the market. Okay. And I'm sending them to sellers and I'm boosting them and I'm hitting, if the most likely seller is 30 to 40 years old or whatever, I'd be boosting to them. You can do mailers, but also the other ones that so many realtors don't do enough of is, what about your past clients? There is nobody better to be in touch with than past clients. If you have 100 past buyer clients in the last 4 or 5 years, you ought to be checking in with every single one of them to see how they're doing, see how the house is working out. And it'll help you a lot. People aren't seeing the links. I
think it's just one person actually. Okay. Everybody else is seeing them. So it might be on her phone is what I'm guessing, and so they're not showing up. But it will be if you guys are on your computers, they are there. Just go to the chat bar. You got to open the chat. And if you open the chat, you'll see them there. You know what? Anthony, now I know what's going on. You're only sending them to me. Check it out. Choice, you have panelists and attendees are all panelists. So I'm getting them.
Okay. But you can get the links. Maybe what we do is.
No, Jonathan, we can do that. Jonathan, real quick, you're on, I think, and just monitoring. If you can just go grab each one of those right now, since you're in the back, and just start reposting those, that would be awesome. One, and then the other idea we had was, you know what, Anthony, send them to me. If you want to just,
I can see me on right now, and I can see me look. You can tell I'm looking at my computer, but I'm going to post them in the comments of this video. I promise you all, I'll post all the links in there for you.
And if you guys need anything, just reach out to me. By Dan Smith. You can find me anywhere on social media that way. By Dan Smith, and I will shoot you everything that Anthony shot out today. So that's an easy way to find me. Question, and let me see real quick. We got in on that, and then I forgot. Just listen to just sold calls. Edward Vegas said, Dan, do you suggest I just go to massive phone calls right now? Yeah, here's the thing, Edward. and tell me, Anthony, if you disagree. I suggest you do everything massively right now, right? You do massive amounts of video, and then when you can't look at the camera anymore and you're starting to twitch because you've recorded so many videos, you get off the phone, you get off the video and you switch to the phone and you do massive amounts of phone calls. And then when you can no longer hold it to your ear because your ear's hurting, then you consider doing massive amounts of texts or emails to people. And then you just go through that cycle. I think you work 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day, and you just flood all available media outlets with content that's good content, is how I would probably say. There's a lot of other little tips and things to do, but just in a general statement for you there, Edward. What do you think, Anthony?
Well, you're 100% right. And the problem is a lot of people sit around thinking about what they should do, and it's like, just get in action. I don't mean that as a dig toward Edward. I appreciate him watching, but just get in action. You know, get in touch with people, call your past clients, mail, whatever you got to do. I don't know. I'd have to hear more about how long he's been in the business.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of a general answer, right?
But bottom line is you need to be on offense. And, you know, I'll tell you a story. The other day I was talking to someone who's struggling. And look, there's no denying. I mean, I'm not going to sit here on this screen with you and make it sound like selling homes right now is easy. It's not. This is the hardest time, in my opinion, that there's ever been to be a realtor, especially those working mainly with buyers. Why? There's not enough inventory. Okay. That, in my eyes, that's a bigger problem than 08 and 9, because in 08 and 9, if you knew how to price homes, you knew how to get price adjustments from sellers, you could sell homes. Now, if you know how to write offers and you know how to negotiate in multiple offer situations, you still might not get accepted. So this is a very, very tricky time. But let me tell you something. I know you remember this. 08, 9, the mortgage industry was they just got slaughtered. One thing after the other. One thing after the other. Bad news, new regulation, bad news, getting blamed, bad news. All of a sudden, 2010 came around, and it was like the sun came out. And the mortgage brokers that stayed in the game, if you remember right, slaughtered it in 2010. Rates dropped. FHA cleaned up their act. They loosened some regulations up. They got their systems and processes back under control. There was mortgage consolidation that went on. They made things better, and mortgage brokers made a fortune in 2010 between all the purchases that picked up because of the home buyer tax credit. Remember that?
Yep.
And then all the refinances because rates dropped. They made a fortune. And I remember talking to a friend of mine who said, good God, I thought of getting out of this business. It's a good thing I didn't, because I just made more money this year than I made the last two put together. This is going to happen to realtors. It's going to happen. I don't know if it'll be 21. It might be late in 21. It might be 22. But there are going to be people that leave this business because they need to get a job, and that's okay. That happens. But mark my words, those that stay in, suck it up, and just motor through it and pull their clients along with them, they're going to make more money than ever when we get on the other side of this.
Yeah, I totally agree. Good thoughts. Good thoughts. Do you have any thoughts, Anonymous asked, any thoughts on, and it being an indie broker like yourself? Now, you're a pretty big shop, 300 plus agents, right? Big area, geographic, but brick and mortar. Thoughts on brick and mortar, different way to use brick and mortar than traditionally?
I think it's necessary. I think, this notion that you don't need any brick and mortar is not true. You're not going to go in and recruit the best brokers in a town or around the towns in the area without having some office for them to go to. It's not going to happen. So yes, some of these companies that are screaming you don't need brick and mortar, they're scooping up teams that are producing leads on their own and giving them to newer agents. Those people aren't going out and recruiting the big fish in each town. In the traditional brokerage business, when you're recruiting and bringing in big players, they need an office within 10 miles or something like that to go to work at, to do things at. It's necessary. And I mean, we're opening 3 offices before the end of the year in this environment.
Now, with that, are you opening, what's your square footage? Are you opening these so you're going more for like a Starbucks, smaller square footage, more location models? Do you have gigantic footprints? What kind of world do you run in?
I like 1,500 to 2,500 square feet, depending on which town it's in. I like to be in what I call regional towns. That's something I learned the hard way. These pocket communities aren't as good. You need to be near a major highway or highways, because then you can recruit agents in 10 or 15 towns, as opposed to that town and maybe 1 or 2 around it. And that's why we're going after regional locations, North Shore, South Shore, out, you know, in the central part of the state, different areas.
But those are small footprints, 1,500 to 2,500. That is more of a Starbucks
we
thing.
have
You
a
don't have
couple,
like massive training centers and 2 stories and
we have
you
a
know,
training
at
center
home.
here at headquarters, but you don't need more than that to have an office. The agents aren't in the offices all day. We have a couple of agents, actually our top agent, she's in the office a lot up about 20 minutes north of here, but it works.
Yeah, awesome.
And honestly, I like it. That's how you have culture. That's how you have camaraderie. So a lot of these companies, and I'm not throwing a shot at them. I have several friends at these companies that are screaming about virtual, but they're one big fish and they're recruiting newer agents, not the big, they're not recruiting the $25 million, you know, queen or king of the town that is been there for 20 years. They're not recruiting those people, and they're not going to.
Somebody said they have a lot of co-working space offices, just 16 of them to use in OC. So, you know, and I think different people, it's different stages of their career. Like I'm an office guy. I want to go into the office. I want to work from there. It's the environment. Like I get my head in the game. It's like when I walk in that door, it's like game time, right? And then I walk out that door. It is like, it is halftime or end of game to take an ice bath. But my wife, Mel, you know, she's in her car, 10 hours a day, I bet, right? And she just has a little thing set up in the seat next to her and works out of that, and it's just house to house to listing appointment to opening to do a showing. And so although she has a spot that she can go to in an office, right? She spends most of her time on the road. But we would never do it without a footprint. See, we would never do it without a footprint either, but like 2,000 square feet. That's it for us. That's like a sweet spot footprint.
Yep.
To have a company in, right? And to have a little bit of room to work and to, you know, a little bit of private offices, some conference room space. You can get all that done in about 2,000 square feet.
I agree.
All right, who else has questions? Any other questions? Anthony, is there anything that we haven't touched on that we should have touched on? Like this is one that I didn't write anything down. Like a lot of times I like, make sure you ask this, make sure you ask that. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be easy. We're just gonna wrap.
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot of bases, and I think that, you know, for all the realtors listening, whether you're in SoCal or in Boston, because I just shared it, you know, don't get down. This is, yes, it's a frustrating time, but that's business. I mean, there's not a business in the world that, I mean, be happy we're not in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
Okay. All these restaurants that I go to in Boston, they're all eating outside now. It's like the new thing. Well, I don't know what they're going to do in 60 days, because in 60 days, you don't eat outside in Boston. It's too cold. Like it doesn't happen. So, you know, this is business. You got to put up with it, and we all are going to come out better. I'll tell you that.
You know, I was telling you beforehand with us and our team, this is literally the greatest year we've ever had. Like I do this thing every year throughout the year that at the beginning of the year I do it, and then throughout the year I might adjust it on December 31st, right? 2020. Right before the New Year's toast. I want to be able to look at Mel and be able to say like, wow, what a year. I do this every year. What a year. And then be able to say, we did this. We did that. We accomplished this. We accomplished that. And I make this list every year. It's like my pre-forecasting goal list, right? And it's kind of my thing. And I'm going down that list yesterday, and we've got about 90% of that list complete already. And I don't know if it's because we put it into overdrive and started, instead of doing 8-hour days, started doing 14-hour days because of COVID, or what's happened. But we are literally having the greatest year us or our teammates have ever had during this year that nobody wants.
That's right. Well, but here's the deal, Dan, and I know you well enough to say this. You went on offense. There were a lot of people in March that did this. Okay, I stayed in my home too. I stayed in my house. We shut the offices down. We complied. I'm not going to say I came to the office every day, but guess what? I went to my third floor office every single day. And in the first few weeks, I was up there 14 hours a day. So I was, well, everybody else, oh my God. I'm saying, well, what can we do here? What do our realtors need? What do our staff members need? What do our buyers and sellers need? Our tenants and landlords need? And we were on offense, and we'll come out better because of it, I guarantee you.
That is awesome. Last minute, everybody. Got the question for Anthony. Ask away. Get it in there now. Otherwise, my friend, I appreciate you being here.
I
It's late for
appreciate
you.
having me.
For all of us, it's like middle of the day. It's like great. It's 1:45. You know, you're sticking around 4:45. You sticking around to the end of the office day to do this with us out here on the West Coast. So thank you very
Well, I
much.
enjoyed it. It's a great discussion. I'm, thrilled to hear how well you and Melody are doing this year. And I thank you for having me on.
And I can't wait to be able to like actually hang out at some point, right?
It's going to happen.
Let me see. I got great info. Okay, everybody, the links are there. If you need me, reach out. You should definitely go check out his one more time. What's that group?
Crush It in Real Estate on
Crush
Facebook.
It in Real Estate. It's almost like Lee Brown's Crazy Shit in Real Estate. So
Please, great.
Crush It in Real Estate, guys and gals on Facebook and .com, right? In Facebook group and .com?
Well, Facebook is Crush It in Real Estate. .com is crushitinre.com.
There you go.
Instead
So go check those out. If you have any questions for Anthony, I'm sure he'll answer them on some of his videos there. If you need anything, reach out to me directly. I'll see if I can get it answered for you. Let's not take too much of Anthony's time doing Q&A off screen. And then safe. I'm glad you got home safe yesterday from the fishing trip. Be well. Keep exploding. Congratulations on all the stuff. It's so great seeing you in RIS media last month about your tech platform and just how that's really taken off. And I know it's a huge risk for you. So super excited for you, my man.
Thank you. Same to you. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today.